Welcome back to Impact Show. So excited to have you here. One of my favorite cities. I live just south of here, and my guest today, Shawn Dougherty, lives just across the street from here. It's a beautiful day in Southern California. I'm here with a great entrepreneur. So excited to have you on my show. Shawn, I told you I have met thousands of incredible leaders, philanthropists, inventors, people that just have crazy ideas and they make them happen. They create impact on their industry, on their society, their community. I've been so blessed with these relationships, so I've created a show. I want to share their vision, how they did it, because all of these entrepreneurs and visionaries have impossible goals that they somehow are able to get past and then make the impossible possible. So for our viewers, which is the general IMA audience, thousands of business people, tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I started my career off in med tech, and shortly after that I jumped into car audio, where I really learned about branding. Worked for a lot of Fortune 500 companies, and then in 2005, a partner and mine, we decided to start a company called M Station, and shortly after we started that and saw some success, we acquired a company out of Burlington, Vermont called Mophie.
Oh yeah.
And at the time it was just a case company. It was an asset purchase, and we rolled it into M Station.
Right.
On the brink of the first generation iPhone coming to market. We took all of our experience in car audio, electronics, and we made the Mophie juice pack.
That is awesome. So before we get into the product, tell us like where you were born and raised. Like where'd you grow up? Are you a Southern California person or did you come from the East?
I came from the Midwest.
Okay, Midwest.
Born and raised in Kalamazoo, Michigan, proud Michigander.
Okay.
Came out here in 1996, moved from Michigan to Phoenix, and then in 2002 I made my way to Southern California. It was always a dream of mine. And then after we started Mophie, I actually went back to Michigan and bought the house next to my parents. It had a 3,000 square foot pole barn.
Right.
And I'd spent the previous decade traveling around Asia. So we basically set up camp and we launched M Station.
Wow.
In that house next to the house that I grew up in a 3,000 square foot pole barn.
So your startup was basically back where you started, right?
Back where I was brought home from the hospital, actually.
Why were you so compelled to go back home, literally to the exact home that you're at, buy the barn next door, start your business, rather than be up in like Silicon Valley or something like that?
Well, that's a really interesting question. And just to be completely frank, plan wasn't to go back, but you know, I didn't know how to raise capital back then. There's so many things I didn't know.
Sure.
I had traveled around China, and I'd sort of watched them turn their homes into businesses. Right. And so, and I don't mean this in a derogatory kind of way at all, but I decided to go back and do it somewhat China style. Right. And then I also found out at the same time my mom had a terminal illness. Oh, and so it just all made sense.
Oh, wow.
And I was about to embark on something that I knew I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure how I was going to do it. Right. And what better way to execute on something than to pull your family into it and have them help you. And that's what ended up happening.
And being back at home, because we all know what it's like to be back at home where we grew up, to do something that's very special and profound to you. Did it give you a different perspective on the business and on the potential, maybe more confidence being back at home versus being in a territory that you're not familiar with?
Sure. I mean, you know, your parents love you unconditionally and they sort of have you no matter what. And so it definitely gives you a superpower, right? And we were leveraging a lot of things, and so my superpower was not to fail. Right. And you know, I don't know that we would have been as successful as we were if it wouldn't have been for the fact that we all rallied together to do it together.
That is so awesome, and I absolutely love Michigan. I got to say, selfishly, my father, when he immigrated from Turkey to the United States, the plane could fly only as far as Detroit, Michigan, and that's where he started. And then got to Santa Ana, became a school teacher. But Detroit and Michigan has always been in the bloodstream of my Southern California parents. And so I grew up with the Tigers, the Lions, the Red Wings, and anyone and everyone that I meet from Michigan just have awesome roots. Anyone that I've ever worked with professionally, such great values. And there's something about Michigan that has the automotive connotation. Tell us a little bit about how your home state has transformed around the old, automotive to the new automotive, because it's almost like those brands you would have thought would have gone away now have kind of resurged and become dominant brands. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I mean, we called them GM babies when I was growing up, right?
Right,
Friends who their parents got in with the automotive industry. Obviously, that was coming to an end about the time that we were bringing M Station and Mophie online in Michigan. I think the plant closed down the year of. I mean, but there was so much operational talent in Michigan.
Right.
It was like, why would I put our global operations division anywhere else?
Exactly.
Because it was just in their blood. And our team in Michigan that we brought online, we actually even kept it online, and it still exists today.
Right.
Even though we relocated our headquarters to Southern California.
Got it, yeah.
About at the point we hit about $50 million in sales. But yeah, I mean, the operational talent there is phenomenal.
What is it about Michigan that just gave birth and held on to the automotive industry? That and M&M. But about the automotive industry, why has it always been headquartered there? Is there some sort of draw talent pool that region has for the automotive industry? Just curious.
I mean, sure. I mean, we're great operators, right? I mean, we understand assembly and automating it, and we're willing to adapt and change. And we've got, I'd say, one of the best group of blue collar workers in the world,
right.
in Michigan, and it's because, you know, we all take the things that we do every day seriously, and
right.
there's a lot of adoration for the market.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about Mophie. I mean, Don, who was formerly on our show, who started Pedigo, which is literally like 2 stores from where we're at, right, Newport Beach, California. He said there's this thing called brand ubiquity, right? Mm-hmm. Where you're just that dominant player, right? There's like billions of cell phones out there, mm-hmm. and you became that brand, mm-hmm. Mophie, right?
Yep.
Because everyone's cell phone ran out of power, mm-hmm. and you needed backup power, but you needed to be elegant, and it needed to be ergonomic. It didn't, no clutter, and it needed to be useful. Mm-hmm. How on earth did you pull that off and rise to the top of the crop? Because you have thousands of players in power. What was that magic that brought Mophie to where it became?
Sure, there weren't thousands of players in power when we started it.
Okay.
I mean, we were at the infancy of it. We were there. We had just acquired Mophie, which initially was just a case company.
Okay.
And so it was Daniel and I that embedded power inside of a case.
Right.
But we were, you know, we had the skills, we saw the need, and then when it comes to branding, I mean, branding is my specialty. I absolutely love it. I believe that our cases are an extension of us.
Right.
And we all need to learn to cut the cord.
Right.
It's been something I've spent the last 15 years of my life trying to get everybody to do.
Right.
But I want to accessorize with my cases. And
right.
I don't want to leave my iPhone necessarily unprotected.
Right. So tell us about, these are some classics, right? I mean, tell us about how you developed Mophie, how it evolved. I mean, this looks like my wife's Valentino shoes. Is that what you were envisioning here?
That was.
What's going on here?
Yeah. So these are products that were never actually released.
Oh, those never made it to market.
Those never made it to market. They made it into a lot of photo shoots, but never into market. This is what a juice pack, I guess you could say, looks like after we've 3D printed it for the first or second time.
Okay.
And so we're sort of looking at it and saying, you know, and this is iPhone 5, so hence why it looks so unusual.
Right, right.
That was, you know, 6, 7 generations ago. Anyways, and then this is what the product actually looked like when it was finished.
Right.
And just there's a huge contrast, but we were able to sit in front of Apple and show them designs and get all of our retail partners on board before we ever brought the product to market. Right. Which was a phenomenal thing. And then this is a line that never came to market, even though a power station version of it did. And this is for Valentino. So these are Valentino studs. This was a collaboration that we did with Valentino, and that this has a lot to do with what I'm doing next, I guess you can say, because I have a passion for it.
Right. Packaging, brand, the look and feel. Just thinking about like the iPhone, and I'm so excited that I get to be the one to release your next greatest creation. In fact, you gave me mine a little over a month ago. I teased my audience with just the outside of it. Now I'm going to actually show you what's inside the box. So I present to you Shawn's latest creation, Volonic. This will be a timeless brand. I'm very excited. Why don't you take our audience through what you've created and how this is going to change the world?
Sure. So this is the Volonic Valet 3. This is the initial product that we'll be announcing to the world in the coming weeks. We've partnered with a technology company out of Chandler, Arizona called Era. And this is their free power technology, wireless charging technology is actually embedded in the Volonic Valet 3. What makes the Valet 3 different than products in the market currently are really a handful of things. When I look at consumer tech today versus how I ran Mophie before I sold it in 2016,
right.
It's been a race to the bottom. There's a lot of plastics, non-reworkable products. The products don't really complement most rooms very well.
Right.
And the Valet's been designed to do the opposite of that. We're using automotive grade materials in the frame.
Wow.
And fashion grade materials in the fabrics. I mean,
beautiful.
It's absolutely phenomenal. This unit happens to be a black.
Do you mind if I take it out?
No, I don't mind at all.
Great.
It's a black baby grand frame with white BMW leather on the surface. The Era board inside of it is an 18 coil matrix that's embedded in a 3-layer PCB, and it's true wireless. You no longer have to sit your phone down and wonder if it connects or not, because the old technology was never really meant to be commercialized, and it requires a bullseye lineup, and people don't understand that.
Sure.
And so everyone's like, oh,
Right.
Where do I put
my phone, right?
Yeah, you don't have to worry about this. This is true wireless.
Right.
So there's 18 coils. They sit dormant until you put a Qi-enabled device down.
Right.
And once you do that, it takes about 2 to 3 seconds, and then it will just start charging your phone. But you don't have to actually sit it down and worry.
Every night, this is what I do, and the savings of time is invaluable. This is what you do. You're done.
Yeah.
And I watch it and I'm like, well, I'm not on the bullseye, because that's usually the problem, right? I have the one that's plugged into my USB and I have to hit it just perfect for this, you just drop it and go.
Yeah,
and I tell you, when you gave it to me, I'm not going to say skeptic.
Yep.
But when it landed here and I saw the charge come on, that's where me, my daughter, my wife, 3, completely different demographics are all like, wow.
Yeah.
That wow is a industry shift. And we all know how important power is, whether it's your camera, your car, your phone, whatever it is. It's an invisible currency, right? And now you've created something that no one's really created, and you've taken it to the next level with automotive grade material. But these are interchangeable, correct? So if I wanted red on black or red on white, I could do that.
You can actually go into Velonic.com, and there's a custom configurator.
Oh, cool.
And you can choose your frame, you can choose your logo treatment, you can choose your surface top, you can choose your feet, and you can totally customize it to whatever living space that you have.
Oh,
and we really
awesome.
encourage people to rethink about how they wirelessly charge. These should be everywhere. It's time to cut the cord.
Right.
And there's a much more elegant way to do it, and this is it.
Yeah, and how did you come up with this? I mean, it's like lightning strikes, right? Mophie, boom, and look at what you did. You built a $100 million company. How did you do that how did you come up with the idea of Volonic? This is brilliant.
So, I wouldn't say that my ideas are ingenious. I would say that they're practical. Like with the juice pack. I mean, I love the iPhone until it died. We had to have a case that had a battery.
Sure.
And a lot of the love and inspiration around the Mophie brand was actually getting your loved ones or yourself from point A to point B. And then, we can make them fashionable, right?
Of course.
And with Velonic, it's a frustration for the products that are currently in the market.
Right.
And I'm guilty of this too.
Right.
Like this is my older self looking at clean energy, sustainability, aesthetics. This product's fully reworkable.
Right.
You can take your top plate off if you get a new car.
Oh, that's awesome.
And replace it.
That's so cool.
The software that operates the board can be upgraded in the field.
Right. Just so you know, we're at the amazing CDM restaurant, which is right on Pacific Coast Highway in Newport Beach. Jordan, a friend of yours, owns this amazing establishment. After we're done here, I'm going to buy you a drink.
Yes.
Whatever you want.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is my favorite restaurant.
This restaurant, as an example, very slick, clean lines, absolutely beautiful. You look at all the details. It has a speakeasy downstairs. This is the type of establishment where seeing cords And seeing a charger, a traditional charger, to me feels antiquated and a step back. And like as a brand, I would just think like having this elegantly just right here takes it to the next level.
Yeah.
Like you're the first, right? You're a change agent as a restaurant with the first to do this, right? It's just like an example. About 2 years ago, I interviewed the CEO of Reviver, the digital license plate company. Same sort of thing. 2 years later, I'm still one of the only people with a digital license plate in California, and it's a discussion item, right? It's almost like marketing without marketing. And this is going to be something that will last for several years, if not longer, as being a new breakthrough for whatever industry you're in, right?
Yeah.
Like when my family comes over to my house or my friends come over or whatever we end up doing once things get better with the world affairs, when they come over and they see this in my office, it's going to be a discussion point, just like art. But you found a way to integrate a discussion point and power into something that we need on a daily basis.
Yes.
And that's a really interesting collision of a business.
We should not have to sacrifice quality and aesthetics for technology.
Right.
And so we want to fuse the two.
Right.
And that's what we're doing here. We're making it so you can customize these for your perfect setting. And it can either match your new kitchen or it can match the new car that just pulled up in your driveway.
Right.
They're all the same materials.
And this makes obviously a great gift. I mean, I have
wonderful gift,
clients in my PR firm. Every year we do something very unique. This would be something super cool because I can personalize it to my client. I've seen a couple that you've actually done, a couple of versions where you've personalized it for the hotel or the automobile manufacturer. So having that variation, I think, is a really great value for those that want to actually take this into the market and do something. The other thing that really drew me to Volonic was the packaging. When I first got an iPhone, I'll never forget how the packaging made more of an impression to me than the phone itself. And take us through the beauty and the pursuit of perfection, as our friends at Irvine Company say. How did you come up with the packaging? Because I would think that the experience as a consumer going into a multi-$100 device, you're going in and you've got this packaging ensemble. Take us a little bit through how you got this so right.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been a vision that really has bled over from Mophie. When you look at the Valentino line and the Swarovski line I did at Mophie, those also came in jewelry boxes. All of this is already recycled pulp materials. So sustainability is really important to Volonic. But the box is designed where this is already recycled. So yeah, you can throw the pulp tray and the boxes away. I'd suggest you keep your auth card, which most people would want to, but then ditch this and then look at the different things that you can do with this.
Yeah, it's like a jewelry box.
It's like a jewelry box, and so it's not meant to be thrown away. It's meant to, if you don't want it, hand it down to your kid.
Sure.
Someone in the family will want it.
Right.
And so we're really looking forward to seeing how people use it.
And tell us a little bit about the name Volonic V. What does that mean?
Volo in Italian stands for take flight. And so what we're doing with Velonic is we're inspiring the industry to take it to a new level, one that really complements living spaces by using the high-end materials.
Sure.
And so don't look at the word Volo in terms of take flight in a literal sense. Look at it in an artistic sense.
Right.
Like the things that you experience that give you that aha moment.
Right.
We're going to give you that aha moment because this product is fully reworkable inside and out. There's not a detail that we haven't taken into consideration.
Sure.
And we're going to basically hand you a new experience.
Power is just an interesting industry that a lot of people just forget, right? They're always focused on the phone, the features, the apps. What more can you do with this physical device? But what about what's inside it that's invisible that really powers the phone, powers the world, right? And what was it about power that drew you to, that as an industry segment as opposed to anything else? Because you could have been distracted really easily by all the consumer electronics to the shows that you were at and things like that. What is it about power that you were so attracted to?
Well, to be honest, I can't keep anything charged. And so it was a true, genuine consumer need from my perspective. And then, once I realized that I could bring forth product solutions that helped with that mismanagement, because, a lot of times, even though this is really unhealthy, I sleep with my phone. And so I was solving real people's problems.
When you say you sleep with your phone, are you you're cuddling it?
you wake up and, it's on your side and under your pillow,
Okay. It's on the table next to you.
It's not where it should be.
Right.
It should be, in do not disturb mode, and
Right.
it shouldn't be omitting its wireless signal in your
Okay,
bed by
got
any
it.
means. There's a
Got
lot
it.
of things that we as a society
Right.
have to learn about RF.
Sure.
And bad energy
Right.
that's being shoved
Sure.
into a household.
Right.
And so
when will we learn those things, do you think? Is it a generational thing where it's going to be studied over time that we'll understand more what RF impact is on a society?
I think with 5G, I think in this next decade, we're all going to be looking at things a lot closer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think about when the iPhone came to market, it just sort of hit us, right?
Right, yeah.
And now it's like, 15 years later,
Sure.
and we're all looking at it, and I'm looking at it like,
Yeah.
okay, it's time to up the game here.
Right.
I mean, Apple's definitely up the game, right?
Sure, yeah.
And so let's up the game with the accessories,
Right.
and let's create an elegant experience. But I don't think the need for power is ever going to go away.
Right.
It's just how we use it and how socially responsible we are with what we put it in.
And to our viewers, I mean, we have thousands of entrepreneurs, thousands of solopreneurs like me, right? Like you got a business and you're like the main person, and then you have folks that work with you. Listen to what Shawn said. She built a $100 million business based on a consumer need, right? So there are things every day in your daily life that you may be thinking like, why isn't there this for that? And it just starts with an idea like that. When I started the Internet Marketing Association, it's the same sort of thing. There was no Internet Marketing First Trade Association. There was old school marketing associations, and just like that, an idea can turn into a business. 20 years later, look at what has happened with the IMA. And just like that, figure out what's that consumer need. What is the thing in your day that you're without and it's frustrating you? Because that right there could be the next billion-dollar business. So Shawn, take me through a question that I've always had. I'll never forget this one time I was in Vegas and I was with the client and we were playing blackjack, and it was we were having a good time, but my phone died. You're not technically supposed to have your phone at the blackjack table, but they're a little bit more lenient these days. And I just remember that feeling of desperation of, oh my gosh, no digital oxygen, what am I gonna do? It's like the modern version of suffocating, right? I've got my wife that may need me. I've got my business that may need me. The hotel may text me. There's all these things going through my head and I can't enjoy the moment. Why can't power be figured out, right? Like why can't a company figure out a way? Let's just say you were my client, we were sitting at that blackjack table, and I say, Shawn, can you transfer power from your phone to mine? What prevents that? Because that would certainly solve a big problem. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, you technically can transfer power. It'll have efficiency issues, but wireless charging has efficiency issues too.
Right.
I mean, the fastest way to charge in an emergency is to plug in.
Right.
It's just, I think getting people to share cables has proven to be an issue, and then
Right.
maintaining cables.
Sure.
So what I really think needs to happen is a very sophisticated power management system. But in order to have that, we're going to have dedicated charging spaces
Right.
that we can always count on to make sure that when we go out,
Right.
there's enough power in our phones to accommodate the day in front of us.
Absolutely. I'll never forget just last February before the world changed. We were all in Arizona and Scottsdale. We were at the W having drinks, and I'll never forget my phone died, and another one of my friends' phone died too. And we're both like totally laughing like this happened. And the bartender said, hey, there's actually a charging vending machine. And we went, and I think I spent $15 to have a Mophie type of device come down, and I just charged my phone, and it was like a supercharged charge. Is there a certain type of distribution that's faster and stronger than other currents? Can you talk a little bit about that, where something can charge faster than something else?
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, I don't want to complicate the audience, but like if you go back to the old 500 milliamp block you got with an iPhone, right? I mean, that charge is probably the slowest. I mean, jump up to the iPad charger, which is a 1 amp, but now that PD charging is available, I think if you have an iPhone 12, you'll probably know you didn't get a charger this time.
Right.
They want you to go out and buy your own charger,
Oh,
which
wow.
is significantly bigger and faster at charging.
Right.
than anything that they could give you in the box.
Okay, got it.
And so nothing's ever going to replace the cable.
Okay.
But we can do things to charge more conveniently.
Right. Well, I noticed, like, I use my Velonic, it charges pretty fast. I always, like, mainly use it when I go to bed. I just drop my phone and then it's got a full charge. That's a huge time savings. It's clean. It sits right next to my, bed. It's fantastic. As far as that fast grid of power, tell me about how, like, lithium-ion batteries, I mean, the work that Tesla Motor Company is doing and with these lithium-ion technologies, how is that power different than, like, traditional batteries and that sort of thing?
Well, I mean, it's a lot different. I mean, a lot different and not a lot different. I mean, we definitely need some new battery technology to help us out with our future power needs.
Right.
But we're obviously trying to charge faster and at higher capacities.
Right.
But the Valet doesn't have a battery in it.
Right. This is plugged in the wall.
This just stays plugged in.
Right.
It stays stagnant. It charges at 7.5 watts per channel, so it's a 22-watt system. And you literally just sit your phone down.
If you had batteries powering a charger, though, that currency would be at a much lower frequency, right, than straight to a wall.
Not necessarily.
Okay, so it could be actually equal.
Yeah, I mean, it could be equal, right? I mean, we have blocks of batteries that are 20,000 milliamps, and will allow you to charge for 3 or 4 days.
Right,
I mean, 110 is 110, though.
Right,
and it really depends on what the wattage into the device is. We have a lot of options, right?
Right.
I mean, I would definitely suggest that consumers upgrade their wall chargers to PD chargers.
Got it.
If you're in a bind and you need to plug in, that's the best way to do it.
And is Volonic mainly United States as far as your distribution, or are you looking at global?
This would be a global brand.
And how does the power affect, just depending on what country you're in?
You just use a plug converter.
Right.
But it still charges at 36 watts in, 7.5 watts per channel.
And do you envision a world where I can use a Velonic type solution to just put my phone on a bar and that's charging, or my car on top of my hood and that device starts charging? Because what you're introducing here is pretty game changing.
Yeah, this is true wireless.
Right.
And I envision this being at bars, in hotels, hospitalities, next to beds, in living rooms, kitchens, offices. There's not really a space. I mean, hopefully the automotive industry starts giving us these instead of paperweights.
Right.
Right?
Right, exactly.
Because imagine having a car that's sort of a valet that looks just like your car at your desk, inspiring you to go out to your car. It seems like a no-brainer to me, right?
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about the entrepreneurial journey, because so many of us face adversity through the lens of success, right? So a lot of people read or see or watch a video about a person's success, but what they don't see is what's going on the inside. The struggles, the adversity, the people trying to get in the way of a goal. Tell us how you were able to go through that and some examples that you lived through.
Mophie saw really rapid growth, right? I mean, I started it in my garage, and at its all-time high, we were about a $250 million company with a 30 million EBITDA. We own 90% of the market share in portable power. We actually created the category, but portable power was the juice pack at the time, which was form factor specific.
Right.
And Apple, obviously, as we all know, changes the iPhone on a yearly basis. And so we were constantly in development mode. And so we had good years and we had bad years. Like every other year, we missed Christmas, and that was really difficult, because of an announcement of a major change of an iPhone from like an 11 to a 12, kind of an example.
Right.
And so, I mean, I learned as an entrepreneur, I can tell you that I was scared when I embarked on Mophie. There were so many things that I didn't know, but it was my job to just go figure them out, or find people who could help me figure them out. And that's sort of the secret sauce, in my opinion. It's you just can't give up.
Right.
Someone has the answer. Just go find it. And if you can't find it, get up tomorrow and try again.
Right.
And keep doing it until you find it. And then you're going to have another one you need to go find. So get used to it.
Was there ever a time in your journey where you just felt like giving up, or just everything was against you, and then something changed?
Oh, I mean, so many of them. I mean, after we acquired Mophie, we didn't appropriately merge the licenses with Apple.
Right.
So we had M-Station and we had Mophie, and we both have different licenses, and we didn't know how to merge them.
Right.
Nobody had ever done anything like that before, and Apple actually called, and it was a friendly call, but they were attorneys. And we were told to stand down, and we were on the brink of launching Mophie, and it took 6 months to work it out. But 6 months as a startup, they were the longest 6 months of our life.
Right.
I mean, if Apple if we wouldn't have waited patiently and worked something out, thank God we were able to.
Right.
Mophie maybe never would have existed.
So crazy.
And so there were a lot of examples like that where we literally barely made it over the hump to the next level.
Isn't it so great that you've learned from those scenarios? And you've accepted what you went through, and now you're applying that knowledge to this. So as you bring this company to life, you have all that expertise as you go into this next stage.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think so. I mean, I didn't plan on getting back into it, just so you know, and I'm here because I see a need that's not being fulfilled.
Sure.
But, on the Mophie side, I mean, there were so many amazing people that made Mophie what it was, but when it comes to Volonic, I definitely would say that I'm looking back. I've spent a lot of time reflecting.
Sure. Yeah.
None of the juice packs were reworkable.
Right.
They all ended up in landfills. This product is fully reworkable.
Right.
I've tried to take all of the things that I now can see that I should have done differently or better into Volonic, and then leaving all the bad behind.
Right. This product reminds me of when I got my Model X about 5 years ago. Got one of the first ones in California. And the Model X that we just took ownership of a couple of weeks ago, it's almost exactly the same. It's almost like a timeless product where you don't really need to change anything because that enclosure is almost like perfect. And it seems like you guys have really spent a lot of time figuring out 10 years out, how the consumer is going to, use this, not just now, but for several years. Fascinating. And one of the things I picked up on in our conversation before the shoot is you go to a trade show. There's thousands of competing brands and organizations for your attention. The things that I believe you used to do at Mophie is you wouldn't just get a trade show exhibit and just compete with the rest of the noise. You would almost like sponsor some speakeasy to the side. Tell us about that marketing strategy and how you differentiate yourself among the fray.
I've been to so many CESs, I can't tell you. Most of them were working for someone else, but after a couple years into doing CES Mophie style, just the way we wanted to do it, talking to our audience authentically, we were like, everyone has a Mophie. They don't need us to be standing out here with all these products in a retail-like environment, trying to sell them on the product. If you have an iPhone, you need it.
Sure.
And so let's take this 50 by 50 space, and let's not do a traditional trade show booth.
Right.
And let me turn it into a beautiful speakeasy, really similar to what you see here at CDM. I mean, this is totally my style. I love this place.
Sure, yeah.
And let's bring our customers in and let's show them our next generation SKUs, and let's have a drink with them, have a chat, let them sit down, relax, and let's just, just because everyone else does it like that doesn't mean we have to be like everyone else, and I'm not like everyone else.
Right, absolutely. And so to Shawn's point, think outside the box, do things different. And if you're always doing the same thing, like with the IMA conferences, we always made it free, and then we had one sponsor just take care of the food and beverage when we started our organization. Step outside of the realm of how everyone else does what you're doing, and that's how you're going to differentiate yourself and create that marketing velocity. I think that's really fantastic. So as we wrap up here, Shawn, I want to give a shout out to Joe Stapleton of Spinnaker Investment Group, who introduced me to you a couple of years ago at Joe Lazowski's house. And I'll never forget how open you were to talking to me. A lot of people, once they reach a certain level of success or fame in their industry, they kind of rise above the clouds. And I want to just, thank you for your humility and your outreach. And you've mentored so many people that I've introduced you to, be it students or other professionals in startup. What is that passion inside you to help others? Tell us a little bit about that. And then what advice do you have for our thousands of entrepreneurs watching this and trying to create their own version of a Volonic in their industry? What advice do you have for them? So tell us a little bit about that.
You got to stay humble. You got to keep your boots on the ground. I mean, if you don't, you're going to have to learn that lesson the hard way. And I know a lot of people say it, and a lot of people say to themselves, well, that won't happen to me, but it happens to more people than one would think. And so always stay humble, always stay real, always stay close to the consumer. I like to build brands that are super authentic. I mean,
Right.
I live and breathe
Right.
the companies that I build, and there's a lot of adoration that comes from the team that helps you with that success in doing it that way. In terms of advice, I would say, you can do anything that you put your mind to. And if someone's telling you you can't, that was always the thing that sort of propelled me into I can.
Right.
All you got to do is when we started Mophie, I didn't have a lot of, I didn't really even know what an entrepreneur was.
Right.
I mean, I was in, it was just a different time.
Sure,
and
sure.
now there's so many resources available where people will talk to you about their experience. Go out, learn, read. No two experiences are the same. However, there's certain lessons that you don't want to, certain mistakes you don't want to make. And so learn from all of those lessons that caused us a lot of hardship, but made us the entrepreneurs we are today.
And that's the thing, she said, when people say you can't, just drop the T.
Yeah.
And that's how I hear it too. It was all those people that would always say no chance, and there was that face of adversity that internally gave me a trigger to say, it wasn't so much to prove them wrong, it was to convince myself that what I was doing was right. And every single time it worked out. Listen to what's on the inside. Shawn Dougherty is on our board at the Internet Marketing Association. Her contact information is available. Just reach out to us at imanetwork.org. I'd be happy to share her information with you if you'd like some mentoring or any advice you have on your own product. Tell us a little bit about how we can get access to Volonic. When is the launch, and how would we access this on your website?
The launch is in the next 2 weeks, and you'll be able to view the website when we launch, and that's www.velonic.com. And then you'll just have to wait and watch out for some really cool limited edition drops and some amazing collaborations.
She's got some tricks up her sleeve.
I do.
I'm not allowed to talk about yet, but you'll be the first to know.
I love collaborations,
Yes,
so
absolutely.
if there's anybody out there that hears this that has an idea, please hit me up,
Yeah.
because that stuff really gets my creative juices flowing. And then a big shout out to everybody in the community and everybody that works at Velonic for getting us where we are today, and getting this company, in the state that it's in. You only launch once,
Right.
and I'm super excited about this launch and super proud of what we've built.
And I've been in marketing my whole life, practically, career. And I got to say, one of the things that you guys have figured out so right is not just letting the entire kit and caboodle out of the bag. I always recommend to my clients, whether they have a product or a service, just resist. Don't let it all out at one time. Drip, drip, boom, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden the brand's out there everywhere. And what you're doing and the roadmap that you have is going to be a great surprise to the industry. I'm so proud of what you're doing. In summary and in conclusion, CES just wrapped up. Much like our Impact Conference, theirs was virtual. What were your takeaways, and what do you see coming in consumer electronics as like the big new burgeoning sub-industries?
I think when it comes to consumer electronics and accessories, it's been a really big race to the bottom,
Right.
since the iPhone came out. And I think that everybody is about to step up their game. With Apple and the AirPod Maxes, we're seeing it, right? Louis Vuitton launched
Sure.
the Louis Vuitton Horizon headphones,
Right.
$1,200 a piece. They can't keep them in stock.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's looking at their tech accessories and they're being like, why do I have to put this in the drawer when somebody comes over, you
Right,
know?
right.
And I just think that we're going to see, good, better, best. We've lost the best, and people need to fill that gap. And then I'm going to just go up here a bit and play in luxury land, just because I really like
Sure.
high-end materials, and I
Right.
think that there's people like me.
Right.
And maybe we'll come down market a little bit if we need to, if we don't
Yeah.
see people filling
Right,
that space.
exactly.
But I just think it's time for that entire industry to reinvent itself.
Great. Well, I present to you, ladies and gentlemen, Shawn Dougherty, founder of Volonic, founder of Mophie. We're so stoked to have you. Thank you so much for spending time with our audience. Thank you, Jordan, for your amazing CDM restaurant here in Newport Beach. We're going to have definitely some events here, IMA, IEC, all of our organizations. We're going to come here and load this place up. And to all of you at the Internet Marketing Association, thank you for your time and attention. If you like this content, please share with your network. Subscribe to our show. Hit the bell so you get an alert every time we have a new show like Shawn Dougherty coming right at you. So I will be back at you. We have some unbelievable guests lined up this year. I can't wait till our next Impact show. Thank you for tuning in. Boom! I'm out of here.
This has been a Sano Shop